Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. This is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, if you do want to leave a question, please do so down below. So please leave the question in the comments of this video. There are so many comments on this channel now, it's almost impossible to find them unless they're on this video. If I haven't answered your question today, I'm really sorry. I tried to answer all of them. Leave it again, and I promise I'll get back to it next week, okay? One more thing, I just want to say thanks to everybody who came out to watch the virtual show that I did with the rest of Slightly Unusual. On behalf of Ryland and Tom, and on behalf of Roman, thank you so much for coming. We had an absolute blast, and the feedback we've had is brilliant. So thank you to everyone that came and watched the show. But without further ado, let's have a look at the questions that we've got asked this week. Okay, so the first question is by Hungry and Hungover, and the question is, what are your favourite performances on Fool Us? Now, I have been thinking about doing a sort of a video on this and highlighting what I think are the best Fool Us performances and what you can learn from them. But let me tell you some highlights, some of the particular performances that I've thought are absolutely fantastic. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Ali Cook. Ali Cook is absolutely amazing, and his first performance on Fool Us with the chicken and the duck was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, he's got a chicken, he's got a duck, and he actually pulls the head off the chicken, pulls the head off the duck, and makes them change places. It looked so good, and the music choice I thought was great. I just thought everything was just so slick, it was so polished, it was so magical. I thought Ali was absolutely brilliant. I also had to Google her name because I couldn't remember, unfortunately, it's terrible, but Lee Kyle, who was the quick change artist last year, she fooled the pants off me, man. I had no idea how any of that stuff was done. There were some amazing moments. Like normally when you see a quick change act, right, you kind of have a rough idea what's coming out. They come out huge, right? And then over the course of the act, they get smaller and smaller and smaller until they stick thin. Well, she was doing stuff that I didn't even think was possible. Normally, they have cover. You know, there's cover going on. There's a cloth or something. And yes, some of the quick changes she did, there was a cover. But then other quick changes, there was no cover at all. It literally just happened. I love the moment where I think it was a green dress just flew into her and she immediately got changed. I thought that was amazing. And the moment where she was using delights to change the color of the dress in slow motion, just the whole thing was absolutely brilliant. I didn't realize quick change could be done quite like that. I thought that was brilliant. I also want to give a shout out to Michael Kent, who did the Multiplying Bottles act. Now, I'm a big fan of Multiplying Bottles. I'm also a big fan of Tommy Cooper, and so he had big shoes to fill, right? And I thought that his performance of the Multiplying Bottles was just brilliant. Because here's the thing, I have seen so many bad performances in the Multiplying Bottles. A lot of people dismiss this trick because it's self-working. And because it's self-working, they don't put any effort into it. But in order to do it as well as Michael did, you have to really put the time and effort in. And you could tell this is a routine that he does in his act all of the time. It was just exceptional. It really was. So yeah, Michael Kent's act was great. Who else can I give a shout out to? Eric Tate. If you haven't seen Eric Tate's Invisible Monty, we talked about it on the on the interview that I did with Eric Tate. You can check that out in the Talk Magic playlist. But oh my gosh, that is so good. I mean, what he's doing there is so technically demanding. Absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. Pitt Hartling was really good as well. I'm a big Pitt Hartling fan. That was amazing. That was really, really good. And then you have to go with John Archer. I remember laughing my ass off when I saw John Archer do his now infamous Blank Night routine. I mean, when John first did it, Blank Night wasn't even a product that you could buy. And he fooled everybody. Not just Penn and Teller, but he fooled absolutely every magician around the planet. But it wasn't even so much about whether the trick was fooling or not. It was more about the fact that it was just a thoroughly entertaining routine. It was very John Archer, and he was playful with the whole audience. And I obviously interviewed John about this as well, and he said how nervous he was performing that, and you couldn't tell. You could not tell at all. He did not miss a beat. I thought it was great. So there you go. There's some highlights for you. There are obviously a lot of other performances that were brilliant. Oh, I'm going to give you one more. I have to give you one more. Tom Stone. And if you haven't seen Tom Stone's performance, where he performs quantum physics, I think it's called, go check it out. That moment where he goes, "Whose box is this? Whose box is this?" is just absolutely amazing. I have bought this routine from him. I actually do this routine, and I bought it off the back of watching him do the Foolish performance. But that whole, "Whose box is this?" it's just brilliant. It's such an amazing moment, and it's so fooling. So yeah, you want to go check that out as well. All of those performances were great, but I want to know in the comments down below, what's your favourite Penn and Teller Foolish moment? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. So the next question is by Harry Smith. Hey Harry, how you doing? And this question is, what is your favourite head table trick? For example, the sort of thing you wouldn't perform over and over again in a close-up gig. Well, I've got to tell you right now, my new favourite head table trick that I am going to do at every wedding for every single bride and groom is Cube in Bottle by Henry Harrius, which is coming out soon. It's not been released yet. I have had one for a while that I've been playing around with. It is an incredible trick. It really is. You don't have to be able to solve the Rubik's Cube in order to do the trick, but it kind of makes sense that you incorporate it into a cube act at some point. What I love about it is Henry has managed to make the moment of pushing that cube into that bottle. They've managed to make that moment, because normally every other cube and bottle I've seen, it's done under misdirection, or you don't see that moment. But with Henry's version, you have the cube, you have the bottle, it goes in a bag, they can feel it, and they feel the cube go in the bottle, and then you take it out and you give it them. It's an amazing moment. And I'm telling you, every single bride and groom that gets given one of those, they will put it on their shelf, and it'll be a talking point for everybody who comes in, because it looks impossible. So that's my new favorite. However, here's a few things that I have done in the past that work really well. First of all, Coin Vex by David Penn is amazing. And I use a David Penn idea that he talks about in his lectures, where you do coin vexed and you have a little jewelry box. And you can get like jewelry boxes really, really cheap. You have like a see-through jewelry box with a sticker with your contact details on it. And when you finish the routine, you put the sticker. You put the bent coin inside the jewelry box, and you give it them as a souvenir. That's a really nice way to give a bent coin out. I think if you do a coin bend and you give them the coin bend, you give them the coin bent, I think they'll probably just lose it. They'll put it in the pocket and they'll lose it. But you put it in that little jewelry box, they'll keep it forever. I also love. I'm not a big Omnideck user. In the UK at any rate, people have been using Omnidecks, overusing Omnidecks for years and years and years. I'm not a huge Omnideck user. However, for many, many years, I did use Omnideck at the conclusion of a performance to a bride and groom. And what I'd do is I'd have the boys at Prop Dog, because this is a service that Prop Dog offers. They can actually sell you a Omnideck engraved. So you can have an engraved Omnideck. And it'll be engraved to the bride and groom, or wherever it may be. And you can have the wedding date and the name of the bride and groom, and you can do a whole card routine and finish off with Omnideck, which is engraved with their details on, and then you can give them that, which I think is a really nice giveaway. What else have I done? So obviously, Anniversary Waltz. The version I use is my Easy Waltzer, which I've talked about in the past. I've done a live performance of this to a bride and groom on a 5x5. I've talked about this on the channel over and over again. Owen Strickland, who's one of the top wedding magicians in the UK, says that he uses this at every single event. I published that on Locked in a Room Without Coins about 10 years ago. But Easy Waltzer is brilliant. But any sort of anniversary waltz kind of lends itself to that. Also, Matthew Underhill from World Magic Shop, and Matthew Underhill brought out a thing years ago where you take a 2 of hearts and you sign the middle of it, and then you visibly pull the heart from one corner to the other. That's a really nice giveaway, because you then give them that and let them keep it. And it's a beautiful moment when they see the 2 hearts have been connected together on the card. That's great. That really is. Outside of that, I think the only other thing that I've done is another David Penn idea, which is when, as you're going around the wedding, you get every single person to sign a card. So you ended up with a deck of 52 signed cards. And then when you perform to the bride and groom at the end, you can have a regular deck of cards and you can do a deck switch during the course of the routine, and you can end up with printing this deck with signatures on the backs or on the front of all of the cards. So you end up with this deck of cards that they've been used to see, you know, you've used it to show them a couple of tricks, and then boom, all of a sudden every single one of these cards is now signed, and you give it them, and it's all got, each one of them has got a message from their wedding guests on the playing cards. That's a really nice giveaway, and it's something they're going to keep forever. And then one more thing, I'll give you a ninja tip that I've never shared before. If you know Sean Farquhar, and if you don't, go check out his interview on Talk Magic. Sean Farquhar marketed something many, many years ago called Torn to Pieces, which is brilliant. It's a way of taking a photograph, tearing it into pieces, and then restoring the photograph, and it looks really, really good. Now, what I have done in the past, if it's an important client, and I went through about a 3-year period of doing this at every single wedding, is taking, asking the bride and groom for a picture of themselves as a couple. And they'll send you a whole bunch of pictures, and you say, "I'm gonna do a special trick for you at some point in the show. Would you mind sending me a picture of you two? Would that be okay?" And so they send you this picture, and then what you can do is you can say, "Well, you know, I don't know if you remember, but when you booked me, I asked you to send me a picture of you guys. Do you remember that? You do. Boom." And I had this story that I told where it's like, you know, that you guys are together forever. This picture symbolizes the strength and unity that you have for each other. But as you go through life, whether you're married or unmarried, be careful, because sometimes forces can pull us apart. And it can be hard to go back together. And I tell this whole story, and then I say, but if you have faith and you believe and blah, 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 and all of this soppy stuff, you end up with restoring the picture, which you then give to them as a souvenir, which is a really nice moment, because it poetically kind of fits together. So that's something that I've used as well. But again, let me know in the comments down below. What do you give away to a bride and groom at the head table? Okay, so the next question is by Mr. Harmon, and the question is, how do you get your video to go live on YouTube at certain times? And that's a really simple one, Mr. Harmon. You just schedule it. When you upload a video, I mean, YouTube are changing things all the time right now, but when you upload a video, generally the first thing that you have to do is write out the titles and descriptions and put your tags in, and then set all that. And then on the next page, you can switch on or off your monetization, and then it asks you to do checks in terms of, you have to do a self-assessment as to whether the video is suitable for a particular audience or not. And then at the end, it will say, would you like to schedule it? Would you like to make it private? Would you like to just put it live right now? Would you like to make it unlisted? A lot of people don't know the difference. Private means the only person who can see it is you. Unlisted means that anyone with the link can see it. So when we do the YouTube tutorials, we make the video unlisted. So the only people that can see it are the people that we've emailed the link to. And live just makes it go live, but scheduled, you just put in a date and time that you want to schedule it, and it'll just go live on that time at that date. So there you go. It's all to do with when you upload the video, or if you go into Creator Studio, if you've uploaded a video and it's private and you want to skip, because that's what we do. We put the videos up private because we want to sort the thumbnails and everything out. So all the videos can just get uploaded in mass. Private, right? And then once they're private, we then edit them and we mess around with them and we put the thumbnails in and everything. And then once it's all done, at that point, then we'll schedule it to go out at the particular time and date that we want it to go out. So hope that helps, Mr. Harmon. There you go. That's how to schedule a video on YouTube. Okay, so the next question is from my friend Jerome Demien, and he says, back in your Wizard product review era, you reviewed Salt and Silver. I remember you saying you worked out a personal version. Would you like to share it maybe on a 5x5, a Magic review, or a Magic Live? You'd love to see it. Thanks. Yes, I will. Absolutely, 100%. I've worked out 2 or 3 handlings from it, to be honest. I absolutely love. If you haven't seen Salt and Silver, it's incredible. It really is. It's like Coin Under Salt Shaker by Goshman, but on speed. Imagine doing card under box, but instead of the card going under the box, it's a coin that goes under a salt shaker, on top of a salt shaker. There's some amazing moments. And what I did, a couple of things that I did, and I will perform it at some point on the channel, but for me, there's a moment in the routine where you've got a coin palmed, and it's years ago that I watched the DVD, so you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance. But there's a move where you load a coin on top of a salt shaker, and it's in full view and they don't see it until they see it, right? And the problem with that is I just couldn't get that move to work because you're having to do something else at the same time. And because it's a slippy salt shaker and it's a slippy coin, it just kept falling off. So one of the handlings is using a magnetic coin. Because using a magnetic coin allows you to, you literally just have to touch it for a second and it'll stick, but not in an unnatural way. The other thing that I did, another handling that I've got, is I use a magnetic coin, but with a magnetic shell as well. But a very light magnetic shell. Think like a 3cm, but with just one shell, and you got kind of the rough idea. So the whole idea is I can do the same thing and load it very easily onto the shell, onto the thing. But because I've got this shell here, I can show the coin, I can do this, and I can do this, and oh look, it's back on the salt shaker. So there's it opens up a lot of possibilities, if that kind of makes sense. So, but I'll happily share it with you. I'll film it for a Magic Live that will go up in the next few weeks. But it's a fantastic routine. If you haven't seen it, you want to go check out Salt and Silver. It's brilliant. Okay, so the next question is by Steven Blair. Great video, as always, with some solid advice. Question, can I get a shout out? Yes, you can. Steven Blair's YouTube channel is really cool. He's a magician based up in Scotland, which means he's got a Scottish accent, but don't worry about that because he's a really nice guy. He's posting a video every single week about, the last one was really interesting. It was a video all about tricks with Sharpie markers, and you gave a shout out to my Omni Sharpie routine, which I really appreciated. So thank you for that, Stephen. Yeah, go check out his channel. He's really good. Okay, so the next question is by JJ the Magician. Hey, JJ. Love the channel. Thank you very much, mate. Question about virtual parties. What are some of the ways you can promote your virtual parties? Well, in all honesty with you, JJ, the way you promote a virtual party is the way you promote anything, and that's by having a clear and concise marketing strategy. There's no difference between promoting a live party and promoting a virtual party. When we promote our events, whether it be Slightly Unusual or an SK or anything like that, when we promote our events, we promote them exactly the same way. What you need to understand, and I'm not going to get into a big marketing discussion right now, but what you need to understand first of all is who is your target audience? Who is it that you're wanting to perform for? And what I mean by that, because I know what you're going to say, you're going to go, well, anybody who's going to book me, right? I want to perform for anyone that's going to book me. But you need to understand kind of where they are, because there's three kind of levels of people in the world. And the first level, there's three types of buyers when it comes to booking events. And the first type of buyer, it's that budget level, okay? People that just are looking for the cheapest option. They don't care about anything else other than driving that price right down, and that's probably about 25% of the market. The top level is premium, and they're the people that are just, they want the absolute best of the best. Money is no object. They just want the best, and they're prepared to pay any amount that they want to get the best. And then the middle section, whatever's left, is value for money. And what value for money is people who are prepared to pay a decent amount in order to have a quality product. Well, the first thing that you need to do is decide where you're going to market. Because if you're one of these magicians or one of these companies that are just constantly talking about price and how you're the cheapest, well, the problem with that is there's always going to be somebody cheaper, right? And if you promote, and it can be detrimental. So what I mean is if you're promoting your services to premium, but then you don't come across as premium, they're not going to book you, and nobody else will either. So it's really important that you get that right, okay? And then once you've got that right, you have to create a customer avatar. And what do I mean by customer avatar? Well, what does your ideal customer look like? You know, who's your ideal customer? So let's take Nonstop Kids for an example, which is my kids' entertainment company. We are looking for women. It's not being sexist, but men tend not to inquire or book kids' parties. They might have a hand in the decision making, but all the inquiries and everything are by the mums. Okay, so we're looking for females aged between 20 and 45. In a household with an average household income of probably sort of 25 to 40,000 pounds, with children aged between 4 and 10. That is who we're looking for. Once we understand our customer avatar, everything that we do can be designed to appeal to the customer that we have in mind. So when you post on social media, what type of stuff are you posting? Are you posting the sort of thing that would attract that type of clientele? And it's not just the same with kids parties, it's the same with adult events as well. You know, what do you deliver? And I know there's some close-up magicians that say, I'll do anything. I do corporates, I do private parties, I do weddings. Well, that's absolutely fine. But you want to kind of try at any rate to aim towards one particular market. And the reason is, you've only got one chance to make a first impression. And if people go on your website or your Facebook page, for example, and they see a video and a picture of you performing out in a field in a festival, if they're looking for a close-up magician for a corporate event or for a wedding, for example, they might think that you're not the person that they're looking for, which is why so many people click on a website and click off within seconds, which is why you have to think about how your website looks. You have to think about what hits that customer when they click on the website, because you have to grab their attention immediately and you have to let them know that you are offering what it is that they want, okay? So, but I mean, that's very generalized stuff. And as I say, at some point down the line, I am going to do a YouTube channel on marketing advice for performers. But your actual question is, what are some ways you can promote your live parties, your virtual parties, sorry? Well, you can try Facebook groups. You can put them in Facebook groups. You know, there's a lot of Facebook groups, lockdown groups, and working from home groups, and ideas for kids' activities in lockdown and stuff like that. And then there's also local geographic groups. So if you're based in this area, there'll be selling sites in this area and stuff like that. You can do Facebook ads. Make sure you've got a vibrant Facebook page and do a Facebook ad. You can do Google ads and have Google ads go out there as well. Ultimately, one of the best ways to get people to book your virtual parties is through word of mouth, right? One of the best ways to get people to book your virtual parties is through word of mouth. If you do a virtual party, there's probably going to be maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 kids there that are going to be having birthday parties at some point as well. Well, don't you think they're going to want an entertainer? Your job should be to promote what you do to every single child at that event. You're going to want to leave them desperate to have you at their party, because if they have a great time, they're going to turn around to their parents and say, oh, wow, I really enjoyed this. Could I have this for my party, please? And then that's what happened with us. We started doing virtual parties right at the beginning of the first lockdown, and we just promoted the hell out of it. We were just doing as many as we could, and we were just trying to get as many people off the back of watching us at a virtual party book us via that, and it really did work. So, there's a few options there, but ultimately, however you promoted your live parties, that's how you want to promote your virtual parties. At the end of the day, look at it as another product. Live parties are one product, virtual parties another product. What did you use to promote your live parties, and use that same thing to promote your virtual parties? Okay, so the next question is by CJR Mystic, and CJR Mystic says, hey Craig, hey, how you doing? Have you seen the trailer for Murphy's Magic release of Daryl's The Whole Thing? I don't know if it's just me, but I found it appalling that they said they included Daryl's original teaching video as a bonus. Something about this seems disrespectful for the creator, and the overall trailer was off-putting because of the clashing style of Daryl and the Magic Bro spokesman trying to make something appealing. This just didn't sit well with me. Any thoughts? Do I have any thoughts on that? Yeah, I have a few thoughts. I understand where you're coming from, and obviously we stand on the shoulders of some giants, and Daryl is amazing. Was amazing, unfortunately. However, I do think that, because I don't know if you know the whole story behind this, but Murphy's Magic, they purchased the rights to the Daryl legacy line. So when Daryl passed away, they purchased the right to all of his marketed effects, and over the last few months, they've been re-releasing these products, and they've been calling it the Daryl Legacy line. And they've already released, probably at this point, 7, 8, 9 products. And Acrobatic Knot they did, Rainbow Ropes they did, a few of his card routines, Ambitious Card, the Enchanted Cube. There's a bunch of stuff that they've already re-released, right? And I think that if they didn't care about Daryl's legacy, they wouldn't have spent money on buying his stuff in. and they wouldn't have definitely packaged it the way they have, because they've spent a lot of time and effort branding this Daryl legacy line. And ultimately, I think they want to, because it's Daryl. A lot of people love Daryl, and B, his name still is it's still a way to sell products, if that kind of makes sense. I understand what you're talking about with regards to the trailer, and I think the wording of the bonus routine, Daryl's handling as a bonus, I do understand that. I think they've got the wording wrong with that, but I don't think they intended any ill will. When the original routines were brought out through the Daryl legacy line, it was Mark Lavelle who was actually kind of the front of the project, and he did a great job, and I know Mark really well, and I spoke to him about that, and he talked about the pressure that he felt under. I did an interview with him recently, and he talked about the pressure that he felt under doing the Daryl legacy line and wanting to try and do it as well as Daryl did. And I think it's Javier, who is from Murphy's Magic, that's doing the performance and the explanation for the whole thing, which is something that I've done in my act for years. And again, he's an incredible performer and explainer of magic. He really is. And I think he is also very respectful. I don't know him personally, but I've spoken to people who he is friends with. In terms of the bonus thing, it was off-putting because of the clashing styles of Daryl and the Magic Bro spokesman. I think that's been a bit harsh on Javier, because he's been the front for Murphy's Magic for a long time, and he's always done a really good job. But from a business point of view, Murphy's have spent a lot of money on getting this Daryl legacy line, right? They just have. And they're going to want to get this money back. I mean, at the end of the day, Murphy's are running a business, right? And you have to understand that Daryl's original performance style was very 1980s. There's nothing wrong with that. I love Daryl to bits. I perform a lot of Daryl's routines, and I think it's amazing what he does. And I perform this just the way Daryl did, to be perfectly honest. But with the red suit and the way he performed and the kind of the bad gags, it was very 1980s, early 90s, the way that he performed his magic. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. Now, you have to understand that when a new product comes out, most of the people that are buying it, most of the intended audience are going to be a younger generation. And if they just put up a video of Daryl doing this routine, it probably would not sell very well at all. Not many people buy stage props in any vast quantity, which is why I reckon that they've put a parlour-sized version together as well, and have got a video of Javier going out and performing it in bars and clubs as part of the trailer, because I think they want people to understand this is something that can be performed anywhere. And I know for a fact that if they'd have just put on, hey, the whole thing has been re-released by Murphy's Magic, here is Daryl performing the routine, I don't think many people would buy that, because I just don't think it would appeal. First of all, the fact that he's doing it on stage would put people off. The fact that there were big cards would put people off. And that just his performance style would put some of the younger generation off. You put Javier out doing it, and now, all of a sudden, it looks edgy. It looks cool. However, they're putting the bonus routine on there. They want people to understand, hey, we're going to include Daryl's original performance as well, because we want you guys to see the original performance. It would be more disrespectful for Daryl's performance just to be taken off if it was the whole thing created by Daryl, presented by Javier. And then all of a sudden, Daryl wasn't mentioned on the product at all, which realistically they have the rights to do. They have the right, because they bought the rights, they can do whatever they want with it. They have the right to literally wipe Daryl's name out of it if they wanted to, and just present it as, hey, this was created by Daryl, this is the routine. And for me, that would be more disrespectful. I think the fact they've included the Daryl performance because they are trying to show respect to Daryl, but they understand that leading with that footage isn't going to be the best sales tactic. That's what I read into it. When I saw, I didn't even realize they'd re-released it, and so I went and watched the trailer. And I understand where you're coming from. I do. I get it. And I'm the first person to kick over tables if I think that tables need to be kicked over. But I don't think that there's an issue here at all. I think that they're showing respect for Daryl in a very different way. I think that the worst thing that they're guilty of is maybe phrasing it in the wrong way and calling it a bonus. Although I understand why they've called it a bonus, I don't see an issue with this here. Does that make sense? And again, I'm not a Murphy's plant. I'm not on the payroll of Murphy's or anything like that. I call it as I see it. And the way I see it is they've just spent a lot of money on having this product bought in. They want to present it in a way that as many people as possible are going to buy it. Okay, so the next question is from DJ's Productions. And the question is, does your mind race when performing? I have to force myself to slow down. Does your mind race when performing? Yes, it does, but in a good way. Normally when I'm out performing, I'm thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead of anybody else. So if you look at footage on this channel of me doing card under box, for example, when the card appears under the box, I'm thinking ahead to getting the deck under the box. When the deck goes under the box, I'm thinking about getting the card into the box. I'm kind of thinking ahead, and you have to force yourself to slow down sometimes, and that's really important because you can be kind of internally going through things a million miles an hour and worrying about everything, but that's really going to affect your presentation, right? Because if you are, and as you say, if your mind's racing when performing a million miles an hour, what's going to happen is you're going to be thinking more about that than you are about the performance. And realistically, when you're performing, the key word is the word performing. You want to make it as entertaining as possible. You want to make it as engaging as possible, not just for your reputation, but also for the enjoyment of your spectators. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by focusing on the presentation. So if your mind is racing, it's probably normally because you're doing stuff that either is incredibly difficult and you haven't really got it ready to go out and do it in the real world, or it's new material or whatever it may be. You're putting a new item in. And I know when I put a new thing into my cabaret show for the first time and I do it in front of an audience for the first time, I'm worried about that moment when it's coming up because I'm like, oh my gosh, right, it's coming up now I've got to do this. And it's kind of that unknown quantity, if that kind of makes sense. So the way around that is really, as I say, just to try and focus on the performance. Here's what I want you to do. I'm assuming we're talking close up here. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go out and just pick 10 tricks that are completely self-working or minimal skill that you do all the time that you don't have to worry about. And then go out and perform at a gig or down the pub or wherever it may be, or to family or friends, and look and see if your mind is still racing as it did before. And I don't think it will. Because I think what's happening here is you're doing really knuckle busting stuff, and there's no problem with that, but you need to build up to it over time. And if you really want your mind to stop racing, you need to focus on other things, if that kind of makes sense. Okay, because I talked about elitism in magic the other day, I have had so many people on this week's Q&A talk about elitism and their view on YouTube and their view on their views in general about the subject. A few people, Swole Guff Bucket said, without hobbyists, who would buy all the junk that magic shops push out on a regular basis? Danny Marco says, regarding elitism in magic, even if amateur magicians are second-rate performers, they are an integral part of the whole community, and they're the ones that pay the bills. That ferment invention. Amateurs and professionals need each other and should respect each other as such, and I completely 100% agree with that. There's so many comments that have been made here. Luke Jones says, I learned a few things off YouTube. I had to back then. I had no money, didn't know a magician, but now I don't watch YouTube tutorials. However, some elite magicians told me that I supported stealing and had some nasty things to say my way. And that's the thing that I hate. When I talk about elitism in magic, I'm talking about the opinion of people that it's not okay for someone to get into magic unless they've got a mentor or a dad that can teach them magic, or unless they've got a lot of money to spend at a magic shop. That's my issue. Luke, you're now buying stuff. You are adding to the magic economy, so to speak, and I absolutely love that. And that's wonderful. But yeah, learning magic on YouTube is absolutely fine. Like you say, you had no money back then. And these magicians that are turning around to you and saying nasty things because you learned magic on YouTube, well, the fact is, if you hadn't learned magic on YouTube, you wouldn't be where you are now. And then we've got a question by, well, not a question, more of a statement by Bruce Littleboy. Hey Bruce, and Bruce says, elitism in magic. Craig, I thought the issue was going to be different from permitting people to be inexpert. How would you prevent it anyway? Or from trying to keep the more valuable secrets closed off the lower ranks? Cultivating excellence is not elitism. Elite suggests to me that there is an incumbent and privileged group on top with power and influence, and that there is a hierarchy. You need credibility. Also, you need credentials and achievements to be listened to. Are performers and reviewers selected from an A-list? Is there a class system, or does everybody just seem to know everyone else in the upper magic world? Do you typically need to have awards to be or be in professional organisations to advance your career? Is networking typically essential for advancement? Magicians seem unusually individualistic. Competition for awards, gigs and fees appear too intense for traditions, but humans form cliques and keep others out. Your thoughts? Wow, that's very deep. So the point about this whole elitist thing, and what I'm talking about elitism in magic, what I'm saying is nobody has the right to stop anybody from wanting to learn magic if they want to. Nobody has the right to do that. You know, there's going to be people that are posting in the YouTube comments on my channel, on other channels. There's going to be people that are posting in Facebook groups, and they'll say, you know, exposure is wrong. You know, all exposure is wrong. People shouldn't be able to get into magic so easily. You know, magic is not for everybody. It's a calling. Well, my attitude is simple. Whose job is it to decide who should or shouldn't get into magic? How have I or you or anybody else got the right to stop people from wanting to learn how to perform magic? Nobody has that right. Nobody. And I don't understand why magicians block people wanting to get into magic, because it is a wonderful hobby. It is. It is a wonderful hobby. And let's be clear that globally, there's not that many professional magicians. When it's all said and done, there's not many people that solely make their living from magic. A lot of people are amateurs. A lot of people are hobbyists or historians that just love learning about magic, and they love performing to their friends and family, or maybe they don't even perform to their friends and family. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. But who are you or me to stop them? Who are you? Who am I to stop anybody from getting into magic? So there are people on this channel, there are people in Facebook groups that would say that if they could snap their fingers, they would stop every single tutorial video from being uploaded to YouTube. How many professional magicians started off life learning magic from YouTube? YouTube, and I've talked about this, I'm not going to go into great detail about it now, but YouTube is like the library of yesteryear. These days, you want to learn how to do something, you go on YouTube. I want to learn how to change a tire, I go on YouTube. I want to learn how to, do this, I go on YouTube. Do that, I go on YouTube. YouTube ultimately now is a search engine that people go on to find answers to questions. It is no different to a library. Why should somebody not be able to find the information of how to perform basic magic on there? Now, I disagree with exposing marketed tricks. You guys know that. I disagree with people exposing a certain level of tricks or marketed tricks or whatever it may be. But if people are putting the effort in and they're spending time and effort to search how to do this stuff, then why shouldn't there be a resource there for them to learn from? And pick a hobby. You don't have to spend a fortune on it initially. My son, Ryland, his hobby is drumming. He loves drumming. Now he's got 2 drum kits now. He's got an electronic one in his bedroom, and he's got one down in an outbuilding at the bottom of the garden, a full-size proper drum kit. We didn't buy him the drum kit when he first said, I want to be a drummer. We got him drumming lessons. And because we didn't want to go and spend a fortune on a drum kit if he wasn't going to be in a position where he enjoyed this. There was very little financial outlay. We got him a few drumming lessons. We saw that he was really enjoying it and he was taking to it and he was having fun. So eventually we got him a drum kit, right? And that's what you need to understand. People shouldn't have to buy a fortune. Well, you want to get into magic, right? Okay, you need to spend £100 on that book, £100 on that book, and £200 on these props. No, just let people learn. Let people have fun. Magic's meant to be fun. It's as simple as that. Magic is meant to be fun. It's not meant to be. I don't know how else to put it. I don't think we should be locking the gates so that no one can walk in. You know the problem with magic? Most people that get into magic, most people, not all, but most people that get into magic have come from some sort of background where they were either a loner at school or they were bullied. Not everybody, but a big percentage of people that get into magic got into magic because they were a loner at school or because they were bullied or they didn't have many friends, and learning magic and being able to perform these things that other people don't know how to do, it gives them a sense of power. It gives them a sense of power and something that they can do that other people don't or can't do. And so all of a sudden, what happens is these people get very guarded about these skills that they've learned because they don't want everybody else learning them. Well, you know what? That's just not the right attitude to take. I want as many people getting into magic as possible. I really do. And I know that people do. I know so many magicians that get into magic having watched a YouTube video. They watch a YouTube video. First of all, they might have seen a magician on BGT or AGT or something. And then off the back of that, they go and they learn something off YouTube and learn something else off YouTube and learn something else off YouTube. And then eventually they get to a point where they're now buying magic. And you never know, they might become a professional or a semi-professional. I think it's wrong to stop people from being able to do that. And it really pisses me off. I'll be completely honest. It really pisses me off. As for... Bruce's comments about class systems. There are class systems in magic. There really are. How many people have gone to a magic convention and there's people sitting around in a little group and you try to walk over to them and say, hi, how you doing? And you try to get in the conversation and they kind of turn their back on you. It happens. These little cliques. Magic should be a community. You talk about networking, Bruce. I'm a business networker. I built my business up through network and go to lots of different networking organizations. And the one thing I know about networking, it is very inclusive. You know, you come along to a meeting and you're made to feel very, very welcome. You don't get that in magic. You don't get that as a magic club. You do sometimes, but there are always cliques of people. And it's the same with the Magic Cafe. The Magic Cafe is terrible because you can go onto a thread on the Magic Cafe and put your 2 pence worth in and you will get attacked by the same 6 people over and over again. There is a little group of 10 or 20 people on there that their entire life's goal is to make anybody else that goes on that Magic Cafe feel bad about themselves. And that is an example of what I mean about people who are elitist. They're trying to push people away. They're not trying to say, yeah, come on in. You want to learn magic? Let me show you this. Let me show you that. And as for the argument of, we shouldn't be exposing the secrets to these people. Oh, come off it. You shouldn't be exposing the secrets to these people. They want to learn. How else are people going to get into magic? Not everybody is lucky enough, as Ryland, to have a dad who's into magic that will teach him. Just because somebody has grown up and doesn't have parents that are magical. Do you know what this feels like? This feels like flicking Harry Potter. If the magicians that talk about, oh, you can't have that magician coming into... you can't have that person learning how to do magic. It feels like Harry Potter when you've got the purest wizards that look down on the mudbloods, for being Muggle-born. That's how this feels. It should be all inclusive. If you want to learn how to do magic, then in my book, that's great. Come and learn how to do magic. And you might only learn 1 trick and then leave, or you might learn 5 or 6 tricks and then leave, or whatever it may be. And either way is absolutely fine with me. And I don't think that nobody, not the Magic Circle, not me, not anybody has the right to stop people from wanting to learn how to do magic if they want to learn. That's my attitude. Okay, so the next question is by The Pass. Hey, buddy, how you doing? And the question is, has your interest in magic rubbed off on Sarah? Have you taught her any magic, and does she know any tricks? She pretty much knows every single trick under the sun. She's been with me for many years. She's been to lots of different magic conventions. She's been to lots of different lectures. She doesn't perform, but she knows how to do a heck of a lot. She also helps us rehearse, and when putting our show together, I'm talking about the stage show now, or the illusion show, she'll kind of watch and say, well, you flash there, you flash there. So she knows so much about magic, she really does. Although she's not a magician, and she wouldn't want to be. She doesn't want to perform. She's not a performer by any stretch of the imagination. But one funny story, and I think I've told this on the channel before, but I can't remember, so just in case I haven't, I'll tell you again. She got fed up of going to Blackpool every year and having magicians harass her, saying, can I see a trick? Can I see a trick? Can I see a trick? It's kind of like really weird when you go to, if you perceive that someone's a layman, that you're going to get jumped every 5 seconds to see a trick. So she learned how to do a one-handed shuffle, which she can still do, perfect one-handed shuffle, so that when somebody gave her a pack of cards, she'd just take the cards and do a one-handed Pharaoh shuffle. So, you know, if she wanted to, I'm sure she could perform, but she's not a performer. She doesn't like being on stage. She doesn't like being the center of attention. So, so although she likes magic, she loves magic, she's never going to perform it. So the next question is by Modus Ponens. How you doing? And the question is, will you be doing a video on everyday carry, or have I missed it? I'm sure I heard you mention it was coming up a while ago. Yeah, it's one that I've just filmed, actually. Ironically, I've just filmed it a little while ago, and it will be coming up soon. I don't know when, but it's going to be coming up soon. It's kind of like a deep dive thing. It's kind of like the effects that I think that you should have if you're doing, you know, if you're out and about and you're not doing a gig. It's a really good video, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, quite a few things that I think you might not have seen before. So it will be coming up soon. Look out for it. It's probably going to be dropping in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so the next question is by Stevie Seltzer Moves. The first question about the Shadow Wallet, I don't think I can answer on here because I think it'll be giving too much away about the Shadow Wallet. But I'll send me an email to craig@magictv.org and I will send you a reply, because I have got an answer to that question, but I don't want to talk about it on the channel. And then your other question, how do you not give a fuck about what people think of you and deal with rejections and making mistakes? I think that the important thing to understand, well, first of all, I've been through a lot of shit. Now, I don't know if you know how much stuff I've been through, and I've talked about it openly on the channel, so you probably do. But during the whole Red thing, my whole time on the Wizard product review, we were constantly getting in trouble. First of all, there was the Wayne Dobson stuff that went on with Jeff McBride and Wayne Dobson, and then there was other stuff, and there was other stuff. We were constantly getting in trouble and causing the magic community to be annoyed with either me or Dave, or both me and Dave. However, it came to the head with Red, because when Red came out, and it transpired that it wasn't my trick to actually release, the whole community came down on me with a ton of bricks, and it led to me leaving the magic community. Because I just couldn't handle it anymore. The whole Red situation came at a time where I just had Ryland. I was focusing on building my businesses up. I was already thinking about taking a step back from the Wizard product review, and that kind of forced my hand. It wasn't straight away that I left, but it was quite. That was the beginning of the end for sure. And I suppose that's the first piece of advice I can give you, which is, don't be afraid to walk away from something that's not making you feel good. You know, I've blocked people in the past on Facebook, and the reason I've blocked them, and I've had people say, oh, why have you blocked this person? I've blocked this person because I don't need the negativity in my life. You know, the simple solution. Arguing with people on the internet has never got you anywhere. In the entire history of Facebook, nobody has ever changed anyone's mind about something. I see arguments on Facebook all the time, and people spend hours and hours and hours arguing about this point or that point or the other point. I don't think ever anybody has changed anyone's mind. So if something really annoys me and they carry on annoying me over and over again, and it might be a personal attack or whatever, I'll just block them because I don't need it. I don't need that negativity, because if I can't see it, because I've had it in the past, right? I used to read the Magic Cafe, especially around about the time where everything was kicking off with Red, and you'll still see it on there. There's a 12-page thread on Red. There's another 10-page thread on exposing team building illusions and stuff like that. And the stuff they say about me is horrible. And I remember back in the day reading it and just like reading it over and over again and feeling really bad about it myself and thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Is this really what I'm like? Blah, 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 blah. Well, now I just block them. If somebody my attitude is really simple. If somebody hates me that much that they want to make public comments about how horrible I am, then why should I listen to them? You know, especially as 99% of people that were leaving comments were doing so behind a pseudonym. They didn't even have the guts to actually tell me who their real name was. Maybe if they rang me up and said, hey Craig, let me talk to you about this. This is wrong, and let me explain why I think you're wrong, and blah, 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 blah. They didn't do that. They literally just was putting post and post and post, making me feel really bad about myself. So the best thing to do is block them. So that's the first thing that I'd say. So I was reading your question again. That's the first thing that I'd say, is just remove yourself from any negativity. Focus on the positives, not on the focus on the positives and not on the negatives. And have a clear mental image. Have a clear goal in mind. Because if you don't have a clear goal in mind, you're just going to be wandering round and round in circles, right? You want to have something that you can focus on, so that when things are happening and it's frustrating you or it's annoying, you can focus on that goal, whatever that goal may be, right? Now, you talk about how do you handle making mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. What you have to understand, and this is an old sales thing, but it's very, very true. I come from a sales background, and what my mentor in sales used to say to me is every no brings you closer to a yes. And what I mean by that is when you do sales, let's say it's door-to-door sales like I used to do, if you're doing door-to-door sales and you knock on a door, you might get a no. There's a good chance you'll get a no, actually. And then you might get another go and you might get another no. But the attitude, the salespeople that didn't last very long in sales were the ones that took each one of those no's to heart. No, no, no. Oh, I'm never going to sell anything. It's terrible. I suck at my job. Whilst the good salespeople are the people with the right attitude, the right mental attitude. Every no brings you closer to a yes. And it really is, and that's the attitude that I had when I used to do sales. I used to go, fantastic, that person doesn't want it. That's awesome. That means the next person probably will. Well, if they don't, the next person probably will. It's about having a great attitude and maintaining that attitude. Because if you sit there moping around, feeling sorry for yourself, you're never going to achieve anything. Do you think I would be able to put out the amount of content on this channel that I do if I was just sitting here moping around, constantly feeling worried about the different comments that people make about me? No, I would not be able to produce anything. Why can I produce all of the content I produce? Because I don't let it affect me. Does that make sense? You've got to have a great attitude. You've got to walk in to whatever it is you're doing, having a great attitude. And you've got to look at every situation as in a really positive way. Another story that my mentor told me in sales many, many years ago is he told me a story about two shoe salesmen. Basically, there's a company that sells shoes. And the owner of this company decides to open a shoe shop in Africa. And he's got two sons, and he says to his first son, I'm going to send you over to Africa, and I'm going to get you to open up a shop in Africa selling shoes. And he goes, yes, Dad. And he gets on the plane, and he goes over to Africa. When he gets off the plane and he walks out the airport, he looks around, and hardly anyone is wearing shoes. Hardly anyone is wearing shoes. He immediately jumps on the phone, and he says to his dad, Dad, I need to come home right now because nobody has shoes. Nobody is going to want to buy what we've got. Bring me home. So his dad brings him home, and he says to his second son, son, you're going to go over and you're going to open up a shoe shop over in Africa. And he doesn't tell him anything else. So his second son goes over to Africa. And when he gets off the plane, walks out the airport, he sees everybody and nobody's wearing shoes. And he immediately gets on the phone and he says, Dad, nobody is wearing shoes here. Everybody is going to want to buy what we've got. We're going to make an absolute killing. And that is the difference between looking at a situation in a positive way or a negative way. You can look at any situation. You can turn any situation into a positive situation or a negative situation. Look at COVID, and I don't want to get too deep about this, but look at COVID. You know, there are magicians around the world that have sat on their ass over the last year, moping and crying at home because they couldn't go out and perform. That's their prerogative. Cool, brilliant, that's fine. I'm not going to say that's wrong. That's what they've chosen to do. There's magicians out there that have chosen not to do anything, sit at home, get the handouts from the government, and hope that things are going to go back to normal at some point in the future. Brilliant. Then there's other magicians that have gone out, that have been locked down over the course of the last year and have been more proactive. I know so many magicians that have started doing virtual shows. They're doing as well as, if not better than, now than they were before COVID. And they've kept their name out there so everybody knows who they are. So when things do open up, they're going to make an absolute killing. There's magicians that have chosen not to do virtual shows, which is fine. Maybe they don't feel like they can do that. They can't perform to a screen, whatever. But what they have done is they've worked really hard on their marketing. They've worked really hard on the SEO of their website. They've worked really hard on creating a new website. Look at me, for God's sake. Look at me. I got locked down just like everybody else. March the 22nd, the UK got locked down. I had a choice. I could sit on my home, on my ass, or I could do what I've done, which is develop virtual shows for Non-Stop Kids and Slightly Unusual, really work hard on the marketing of both companies, really work hard on the SEO, and we've spent the last year doing a really in-depth link building strategy to improve our SEO. And the other thing that I did is I built a YouTube channel from nothing to the point that where it is now. What does this make possible, Stevie Sells Moves? What does this make possible? Every situation that you get yourself into, ask yourself, what does this make possible? Because you have two choices in front of you. You can take the left path and ultimately fail and just sit on your ass all day, or you can take the right path and you can make the most out of any situation. Because that's all I choose to do every single day. And I haven't done this forever, but I've learned to do it over time. And so the best thing I ever did all those years ago was get away from the magic community. The next best thing I've done is come back into the magic community. It's about knowing what's right for you at the time of your life that you're in, right? So to sum all of that up, and I'm sorry this was a very long monologue, for want of a better word. I'm sorry this has been a very long monologue, but ultimately, remove negativity from your life. Make sure that you have a great attitude. Make sure that you maintain that great attitude. Try to look on the positive every single step of every single day. And then when you get yourself into a situation, you can choose to look at every situation in a negative way or a positive way. And ultimately, the people that look at things in a positive way will end up in a better situation. The one final piece of advice I'll give you on all of that is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. But if you are going to fail, fail forwards. And what I mean by that is it's okay to fail. It's okay to get things wrong. It's okay to screw up as long as you learn from that mistake. And when you learn from it, you don't do it again. So you get better every single time and you go, well, I've learned from that. I'm not going to do that anymore. All right, and now I've screwed this up, but it's fine. Because you can't skip the steps. And what I mean by you can't skip the steps is, let's talk about business or your life as a career as a performer or whatever it may be. This is where you start. This is ultimately where you want to be. And along the way, there's steps. Now, even if you could skip the steps, and some people do, you know, maybe they go on BGT and they do really well or whatever, and they skip the steps. Once you're at that level, if you find yourself in a situation that you can't deal with, you're going to end up back down there. But if you follow each step, what will happen is you learn something each step of the way. So when you get to this position, if you ultimately fall backwards, it doesn't matter because you know what to do. You've been there, and you just go up another step. So yeah, don't skip the steps. Don't be afraid to fail. Make sure you stay positive and constantly ask yourself the question, what does this make possible? So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. It was kind of a deep and meaningful, this one. Less talk about magic and more talk about, business and marketing and failing forwards and stuff like that. But let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to see more videos like this, please do me a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and yeah, if you want a question answered, leave it down below. I promise I'll get back to it next Sunday. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great Sunday afternoon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.